Hello friends, in today's video, let us learn about National and State Human Rights Commissions. First of all, the Nhrc and the Ssrc are statutory bodies established by the Act, the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. So under this legal provision, under the legal provision of this Act, Protection of Human Rights Act, these institutions, Nhrc and Ssrc, were established. National Human Rights Commission, as its name suggests, works at the national level to protect the human rights of citizens. State Human Rights Commission works at the state level to protect and guarantee the rights of everyone. Now, what are the functions of Nhrc? Nhrc is the watchdog of human rights in the country. It tries to protect the human right. It looks into various kinds of human rights violations and tries to guarantee human rights to a great extent. So Nhrc deals with rights relating to life, liberty, equality and dignity of the individual, guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the international covenants and enforceable by courts in India. So Nhrc look into various human rights violations and issues related to human rights, and those human rights which are enshrined in Constitution or in any other acts or laws of India or other international covenants are mainly looked after by Nhrc. Now, what are the objectives of Nhrc? To strengthen the institutional arrangements through which the human rights issues could be addressed in their entirety in a more focused manner. So we know already in the country, there are plenty of institutional arrangements for protecting human rights. For example, courts are there, then the police system is there, police department, then various government agencies are there, etc. Government agencies are there and so on. So Nhrc will be looking after these institutional arrangements, and if any problem arises related to these, Nhrc is there to address those. Then Nhrc also look into allegations of excesses independently of the government in a manner that would underline the government's commitment to protect human rights. So sometimes human rights violations are made by the government itself. So independent of the government, the Nhrc will look into allegations of human rights violations. Then Nhrc complement and strengthen the efforts that have already been made in this direction by any agency in India. So you do not have to by heart these sentences. You can just try to learn the meaning of these sentences. For example, you can learn these highlighted words here. The Nhrc tries to strengthen institutional arrangements related to human rights, look into allegations of human rights violations, and complement and strengthen various efforts related to human rights. So you can just summarize and study these functions as simply highlighted in these words. Now moving on, what is the composition of Nhrc? So mainly Nhrc has a chairperson, and chairperson should be a retired Chief Justice of India or a judge of the Supreme Court. And then there are some members of the Nhrc, and one member should be a judge of the Supreme Court. Then another member should be one of the Chief Justice of a High Court, should have been one of the Chief Justice of a High Court. Then 3 members should be there who have practical experience in matters relating to human rights, and of these one should be a woman. So these are the members: a chairperson, then 1 member from Supreme Court judges, then 1 member who was a Chief Justice of a High Court, then 3 members who have practical knowledge in fields related to human rights. Then in addition to this, there are some ex officio members who are the chairpersons of certain national commissions. For example, National Commission for Scheduled Caste, National Commission for Scheduled Tribe, or for women, National Commission for Minorities, etc. are there in India. All these national commission has a chairperson, and these chairpersons are automatically members of the Nhrc. So there are members who are selected by special selection process, and there are members who are automatically becoming members of Nhrc. And these are the groups that are automatically becoming members of Nhrc. So if a person is joining as the chairperson of National Commission for Minorities, he will surely be a member of Nhrc as well. So you can just try to remember who all are the members of Nhrc. Then Ssrc is a 3-member body. Nhrc is a much bigger platform, and Ssrc is 3-member body. It has a chairperson who is from the High Court, who was one of the Chief Justice of the High Court. Then there are 2 members. Members are from the judiciary background. One person is to be from a High Court or a District Court with sufficient experience in judicial system, and one person is from a practical field related to human rights. So this is how Ssrc and Nhrc are composed. Now what are the functions of Nhrc and Ssrc? So you can just predict the functions. Maybe it is all related to the protection of human rights in India. So what will they do? They will inquire into any violation of human rights and negligence of prevention of such violation by a public servant, either suo motu means by itself, or on a petition presented to it, or on an order of a court. Then to intervene in court proceedings related to human rights. Then make recommendations about granting relief to victims of human rights violations. Then review the safeguards provided by Constitution and other laws for protecting human rights. Then review the factors including the acts of terrorism that inhibit the enjoyment of human rights and recommend appropriate remedial measures. Then to study treaties and other international instruments of human rights and make recommendations of their implementation. To promote research in the field of human rights. To engage in human rights education. To encourage the efforts of various NGOs and institutions working in the field of human rights, and to undertake any other function relating to human rights. So again, you don't have to learn all these sentences. You can just try to study the highlighted words or try to remember the meaning of this. For example, Nhrc will inquire into human rights violations, then intervene in court proceedings. It will try to grant relief to people who are victims of human rights violation. It reviews the safeguards available in the country for protecting human rights, and it tries to give remedial measures, and it studies international treaties and tries to implement them, and it undertake or promote research in the field of human rights. Then it engages in human rights education. It encourages the efforts of NGOs and other institutions, and so on. So every aspect is related to human rights in India. So these are the functions of Nhrc and Ssrc. Nhrc tries to implement these functions at the central level, at the national level, and Ssrc tries to implement these functions at the state level. Then Nhrc and Ssrc were able to protect human rights to a great extent. The work of Nhrc and Ssrc can be praised for their good results that they have obtained. And some of the best examples where Nhrc was able to bring justice was, it was able to act against discrimination of HIV patients. Then it was instrumental in making it mandatory for reporting of the cases of custodial deaths or rapes within 24 hours. So sometimes police may be doing some kinds of human rights violation, and custodial deaths may go unreported. So Nhrc has made it mandatory that custodial deaths should be reported within 24 hours. Then if any human rights violations are happening, Nhrc is very quick to look into these matters, and plenty of recent human rights issues were investigated by Nhrc. So these are the famous interventions by Nhrc. But one of the drawbacks that the Nhrc has is that it do not have any power to enact its decisions. For example, it does not have any investigation organs. It has to do the investigation with the help of government agencies. So even if it has to inquire into any matters of human rights violation, it do not have the power of its own. And if it has to grant relief to any victim, it can just make a recommendation only. it cannot grant the relief by itself. So often the Nhrc is mocked as a toothless tiger because it has powers, but often it is not able to implement these or exercise these powers. So it is often mocked as toothless tiger. So that is one of the criticism that is related to Nhrc. But otherwise, the mechanism is instrumental in protecting the human rights in India. So I hope the working of Nhrc and Ssrc is clear for you. Thank you.